Hey, good news for any Roland TD-27 users who were affected by the kit loading bugs that I identified in software version 2.1. Roland have released software version 2.2 and the bugs that were associated with 2.1 have been fixed. Thank you to the developers at Roland, I'm glad that my bug report helped and this is now resolved. I've loaded my own kits to the module and I can confirm that so far all of the affected settings appear to be loading correctly to this software version. So in short, if you were running version 2.1, update your module to version 2.2 and any custom kits should now load correctly. If you were holding off from updating from version 2.0, you can now update your module if you want to. And I won't need to send out any updated kit files because the current files load with their intended settings on version 2.2. However, as always, there are a couple of things to keep in mind depending on what you do after you've updated your module. As part of the update process, Roland recommend to make a backup first, then update the module, then perform a factory reset, and finally reload your backup. However, if you're updating from version 2.1 and you installed any of my kits to that software version using the one kit load menu, then the backup that you create is going to save the settings from that version. So if, for instance, you loaded my kits to version 2.1 and you didn't adjust anything, you didn't do any of the fixes, the backup is still going to save those incorrect settings. If you loaded my kits and then you went and manually fixed the settings following my previous guide, those manually adjusted settings will be the ones that are saved as part of the backup. So these won't be the intended settings for my kits. Here are your options to correct this. If you don't have any earlier backups or you're not bothered about losing any of your older settings, the simplest thing is just to not load the backup from version 2.1 and start fresh on your factory reset version 2.2 module. You can just start installing my kits and they should load exactly as intended. If you adjusted any trigger settings or anything else in the menus on version 2.1 though, then you'll need to do this again. If you've got an older backup from version 2.0, so before you did the 2.1 update, then that backup should still load correctly to version 2.2. If that backup contains everything that you want, then you can just use that. If you really want to keep all of your settings from the version 2.1 backup, but you also want to restore any kits from the eDrum workshop to their intended settings, then you'll need to delete some samples manually, then reinstall my kits from the SD card using the one kit load menu. Fortunately, I have a video here that explains how you can identify samples from my kits, delete them individually, or even use the delete all function to start fresh while retaining all of your other settings. Thanks for your patience on this one. If you're using my kits, I hope you can now enjoy them in their full glory. If you were holding off due to the bugs, now's the time. Have a great day. Cheers.